Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne's Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at the McNees PM Mac 2. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. I also want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by DLT Trading. Check them out for all of your knife and EDC needs. Now, let's take a look at some specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 6.625 inches, with a blade length coming in at 3 inches, a cutting edge at 3.125 inches, a blade width of 1 inch, with a blade thickness coming in at 0.15 inches. Blade material is CPM 20CV with a drop point style blade, a flat grind, a handle length of 3.625 inches with a handle thickness of 0.48 inches, and a handle width of 0.875 inches. The handle material on this guy is titanium with a frame locking mechanism, a user of a right hand only tip up carry, a weight of only 3.06 ounces, a price of $517 for good reason. We will get to that here in just a second. And this is designed by Jonathan McNees of McNees Knives. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at some size comparisons, because this is a very this is one of those smaller size EDCs that I think a lot of people would really enjoy. We'll start out with one that surprisingly feels kind of relatively similar to this. This is the Wee Banter, and it's surprising. It's just surprising is the best word of, at least in my opinion, how similar these two knives feel in hand. We also have the Vox F5.5 from Urban EDC Supply to throw up there as well. And as you can see, it really is, I think, that happy place for a lot of people. My ideal knife size is a little bigger than this, but this is still a very pocket-friendly size. And the ergos, well, we'll get to them, but they're pretty good. But as you can see, very nice compact blade indeed. And we have one more round of comparisons for you. That being a little Spyderco sandwich with the Spyderco Little Native, as well as the Para 3. So as you can see, it's kind of in between the two. The Para 3 usually has a bigger handle than every knife it gets set up against in that blade length category, and that's no real difference there. As you can see, the handle is handle's just a big one on Spyderco knives, which they feel pretty darn good. But as you can see, the Little Native is also just a little shorter. Actually, the handle of the Little Native, it's surprising how similar they are in length. Very similar there, but not nearly as much of a sharpened edge on that Little Native as you have on this PM Mac 2 here. Now, let's get into talking about this knife, because this is a very interesting knife. McNees has been around for quite a while, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to check out one of their blades until now, and I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with this guy. Let's start with the blade. It is a very surprisingly thin edge. Now, I'm not saying it's like razor thin, but just looking at this knife, when I was taking it out of the packaging for the first time, looking at the stock, kind of just looking at the grind, I thought, oh boy, we're gonna have a real thick behind the edge reading. It's gonna be 28 thousandths. It's gonna be, it's gonna be one of those kind of Italian style knife designs, but it's not. Calipers do not lie. I got readings of 18 thousandths along the flat here, and it got up to a little closer to 23 thousandths around the belly and the tip. But you know what? That is plenty good enough for me. This part right here, this is a very nice area for any type of, if you have to really power through a cut or just kind of get down in there and just really get through something. That 18 thousandths there works really darn good. And the 23 thousandths up there too, that's still really acceptable. 23 thousandths is a little, I guess, above average for knives these days, but again, it really kind of, there's a lot of factors that go along with that don't necessarily make it a good or bad EDC. 23 thousandths is acceptable though in my book. It works really well, especially when you have a premium blade material like CPM 20CV. It's going to hold that edge for quite a long time. So nothing, no real bad things there. Now, moving into the back of this blade, you have some really nice jimping on the spine here. It's just enough, and again, it's that type of jimping I really look for when I want to put my thumb somewhere. I want something that's going to bite my thumb. I want something that's going to give my thumb so much grip to where it almost is uncomfortable. I want my thumb to lock in, and that's what I get with this jimping here. It's I would say it's rather aggressive, not too aggressive. It's just right. It's just very good jimping, works really well. You also have perfectly placed thumb studs on this guy. I know it looks close to the handle. I know some people are thinking that would never work. Yeah, it does. It does. We'll talk more about that when we get to the action, but I love the placement of these thumb studs on this blade. And lastly, you have some really nice blade branding. And that is something that I do put a lot of, I put kind of an exclamation point behind blade branding in my style of reviews because I am a very aesthetic guy. I want my knives to look good. I look at little details like that. You know, there's some details on knives, guys, that I miss. I'm not a knife maker. I don't know everything there is to know about knives. I just know what I like, and I'm constantly learning. But one thing that I do pay attention to is blade branding, and this has just the right touches in just the right spots. You have the company name, the knife model, or at least part of it, and then you also have this great USA flag on one side showing where it was fully made and manufactured. And then you have the blade steel CPM 20CV, which is all in a pretty cool font too. And it's kind of like laser engraved. So I like that. I like what they did there. And it blends in with the blade real good too. It's not too dark. It's not something to where it looks like it's just, plastered on there and it's bold and it sticks out. It works really well with the blade. Might sound weird, but it just does. Might be one of those things you have to see in person, but I like it a lot the way they did it. Going into the handle and ergos. Their ergos are good. They're surprisingly good. They're a very solid 4-finger grip. I have just enough room down here to get a full pinky wrapped around this guy, and it feels really good. No real issues there. I really love the texturing on this. I think it's called kind of like a stone texturing. This side looks more like a stone texturing. This side, it's kind of it's spaced out a little to where at first I thought it was like X's, but I think it is just more of the stone texturing. If that's not what it's called, let me know. I'd be interested to know the proper verbiage for it. But whatever it is, I do like it. I can't say it adds a lot of grip to it. I think it does a little, but not enough to really be the reason I like it. In all honesty, I think it just gives it a really good kind of a rugged aesthetic to it. I think it looks really good. So I don't really have anything special to say about it outside of that. One thing that's worth noting that I thought was a nice little touch was the orange peel on the pivot up here. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the orange peel finish, like on a knife in general. Like if this whole handle was orange peel finish, it wouldn't really be my thing. But it's a nice little touch up here. And as you can see, it's got the orange peel finish in it. It just kind of adds a unique little detail, a little flair to it that I didn't think I would really care about, but seeing it on this, I kind of like it. It's better than just like a satin pivot, of course. So I am a fan of that. One thing that really sticks out to me, though, in a negative way is this lanyard hole. Now, I've always said in the past, I don't use lanyards. So I'm not someone that hates a lanyard hole, but if you're going to put a lanyard hole on a knife, put it in a place that kind of makes sense, or you add a little extra, touch, something to it, other than just, this looks like they literally just drilled a hole here. And it doesn't even look like there's something like the OCD in me is constantly screaming like that hole is just completely off center there. Like it just looks like a random spot. And I'm sure what they did was they measured the points. And so the points between the actual screws, that's where it goes. But then when you look at this point here towards the end of the handle, it just kind of looks a little wacky because where the point is, it's kind of off-centered. I don't know. It looks weird to me. I don't like this, especially for a $517 knife. Just me personally, it would really kind of hold me back from buying a knife like this, because if I'm going to spend $517 on a knife, I really look at all those little things. And again, that's just me. That's one guy. But if you use a lanyard, then I mean, this is great for you. And really, even if you don't, it's not something. I mean, it's not the end of the world. You don't feel it or anything like that. I wish there'd be a back spacer here with the lanyard. I think that would be a much better route. I know that adds cost. I know there's other things that would factor into that, but I would much rather have a back spacer here with a little lanyard slot or some other way to incorporate a lanyard into this knife, because the overall design, I think, is amazing. And then that lanyard hole is just so random and just stuck there at the back. I'm not a huge fan of it. One thing I am a huge fan, though, is the great space you have to access the lock bar. You have a milled area on both sides. You already have a thick stock, so you got that, that 0.15 thick stock with all that space here, and you just push right in, and the blade just falls right down. Very, very smooth. And going into the action in general is fantastic. No complaints whatsoever on the action. I think the weight of the blade really works in favor of the action on this one. You can really just feel the blade fly out. And with these thumb studs, so let's talk about the placement of these thumb studs real quick, because what you're doing with these thumb studs, you're not really pushing it out. You can push it out and it works, and it actually works really good. But for me with these, you just push up. You just push up on the thumb stud because it's so smooth. These bearings are so smooth. It is running on bearings. It's absolutely running on bearings. You just push up and it flies out. Now, as you saw, I did kind of push it out and it works, which is actually really impressive. To have that big of a range of deployment on thumb studs will make it more friendly for a lot of users. So out, it flies out fine, and you go up, it just is fine. And then what's even better, if you like to middle finger flick, yeah, you can do that too, and it's super, super smooth. This is one of the very few knives, I think I've said this about a couple other knives, but I honestly enjoy the middle finger flicking and thumb stud action for thumbs equally. It feels great. This is a very, very fidget-friendly knife for just thumb studs. Probably one of the most fidget-friendly knives with only thumb studs I've ever come across. That's saying a lot. Really, really love the action on this blade. Overall thoughts after handling my first McNees is very, very good. Outside of the lanyard hole, that's really my only issue with this knife. I didn't really say much about the pocket clip. The pocket clip works great. It's not deep carry. You're going to have a decent amount of the knife sticking out. But in terms of ergos and carry in the pocket, it's fine. Those are my two biggest things when it comes to pocket clips. Carry is definitely third in terms of how high it carries in the pocket. This one's riding a close line for me, but it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to deduct anything or complain about that. I really like this knife, guys. The $517, it is what it is. It's fully made in America with very premium materials. Another thing that you have in here is a lot of milling, a lot of internal milling. That adds time. That's machine time, so that adds money as well. But it makes for a nice light knife. The basic 3.06, 3 ounces for all intents and purposes, guys, feels great. Very nice and light, but very solid. This is a lot of what I look for in an American-made knife. Really any knife, but when you see this kind of quality and attention to detail in an American-made knife, it just makes it that much more happy. No real issues with this outside of the lanyard hole. Wish they would do something else with that lanyard hole, either get rid of it or put a backspacer on there, do something. But I am a big, big fan of this knife. And I heard there is a 2.5 coming out with a 3.5-inch blade instead of the 3-inch blade. That may be on my need to purchase list. We'll see. We'll have to check the knife funds for one of these. But I am very, very excited about the 3.5-inch version of this coming out. I don't think it's out yet. But yeah, this one, guys, it's a win. It's one I would recommend if you want a nice, solid American-made knife with premium materials at a premium price. Look no further than the McNees PM Mac 2. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.